Okay. Let's just get going here. And let's switch over to this. And we'll go here. And we'll lower that all the way down. And we're going to grab this. And we're going to move it over here. And we go. All right. So now just wait for everybody to show up. Patiently wait for everybody to show up. I know I haven't been here in 2 weeks. Well, I wasn't here last week. Put it that way. And we had some unusual things go down in the realm of my work that I had to take care of last Saturday. Basically, our busy season is supposed to kick in mid-March to early April, and instead it kicked in mid-February, which caused an influx of way more work than we would normally deal with. So I had extra crap I had to do, and I could not be here. And I apologize for that. Meanwhile, we got about 3 minutes till showtime, and then we'll get it going. Slick. Hello, sir. Hello. About 3 minutes, we'll get going here. My. It's gonna be one of those days. Yes, it is. No, I am, in case anyone was about to ask, I am not playing Horizon Forbidden West. Guess who is? I'll give you 3 guesses. He's like me, but shorter and younger, and lives in the same house. Hi, Ultra Steel. Hello. Ballsack. Hello. We'll get started in 2 minutes here. My neck's popping. I don't have nothing to honk with. Oh, man. Nothing to honk with. We'll be going in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Dose. So don't everybody, rush in to start asking things yet. Ooh. What have I become? What have I become? I tell you, what a time it's been. What a time it's been. The last 2 weeks, they have worked me to death. Worked me to death. Oh, I was playing games last night, but I wasn't playing Horizon. Not Horizon. I was playing something else. I'll talk about that later, too. I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, you already know what I was playing, but that's neither here nor there. Because not all y'all want to watch me on, follow me on Twitter. Anyway, It is Saturday. It is 6 o'clock. February 19th, 2022, and this is the 7thCast. As always, I'm your venerable host, your friendly neighborhood 7th. 8th is playing Horizon Forbidden West in his room. And I am not. I'm here talking to you guys. As always, this for those of you who are in the know and those of you who aren't, this is a 3-hour podcast. It runs from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central. That can be expanded by donations. So if we hit $50, I stay until 10. $75, I stay till 11. Anything 100 and up, I stay till midnight and kill myself. Not figuratively and literally, but like it takes it out of me. But I do it for y'all, particularly my ass. It takes it out of my ass a lot. It takes it out of my ass a lot. My ass is very sore after a 6-hour podcast. Let me tell you, it doesn't feel good. Anyway, what I have been playing since you know, the very second that Horizon Forbidden West touched the doormat outside my front door, it was quickly absconded into 8th room, not to be seen again. I've been playing an indie game, because you guys know I love my 8-bit retro-style indie games, called Infernax, or Infernax. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. And it is a love letter to the Castlevania series in general, but specifically to Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. And I started playing it late last night because I happened to stumble across the fact that it had released on PlayStation. So I snatched it up because I didn't think it was coming out for a little while longer, and I started playing it, and the next thing I knew, it was 6:45 in the morning. I played it all night. And it is ridiculously fun. It is a little frustrating to get used to, because instead of using a whip, you're basically using a mace, and so your attack range isn't as wide with this game. And so you have to adjust to the hitboxes and how they work in that game, because you have to get a lot closer to the enemies than you did in Castlevania due to the whip. But it is a lot of fun. It is in the Metroidvania style, which Simon's Quest sort of was. You just didn't have a map. You didn't have a map screen. And it's got really interesting boss fights. It's got a cool story to it. There's a lot of humor to it. There's a lot of direct references to Simon's Quest. For example, you get to this part where there's like, you can either go down underground or you can walk up some stone steps and they dead end at a cliff. Sound familiar to those who've played Simon's Quest? If you kneel at that cliff for 10 seconds, a big tornado appears and grabs you up. But instead of taking you to another part of the map, it sucks you up into the air and then starts to spin so fast that it rips your body apart and you explode in balls of blood and gore. And then it respawns you back at the entrance to that section of the map. So, and then there's another part where you break some blocks in a castle and you find a what looks like a green turkey sitting behind the blocks, and you eat it, and instead of giving you more health, it shows a still shot of your character on all fours, projectile vomiting green slime all over the room. So, you know, it's tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, it's got some good action to it. The controls are really nice. You just got to get used to having a shorter weapon. Also, if you ever wondered what playing Castlevania would be like if you had a gun and lots of ammunition, if you go back to the title screen, now this won't work on a save you've already created, But if you go back to the title screen and use the Konami code, it starts the whole game over on a new save file, and instead of a Simon Belmont type character, you're like one of the guys from Contra, and you're carrying an M60 with unlimited ammunition. And so imagine playing Castlevania, but you're able to shoot all the enemies from across the screen in rapid fire. It makes the game ridiculously easy, but it's a heck of a lot of fun just running through laying waste. Just absolutely laying waste. The bosses go down like that when you play in that mode. It's really funny. It's funny to watch. Anyway, that game is called Infernax or Infernax. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. It's like Inferno, but you take the O off and put axe at the end. Infernax. Really, really good game. I don't know. I assume that it's on Xbox. I know it was on Steam beforehand, but I'm going to tell you, it's one of my favorite retro 8-bit style indie games that I've played since Shovel Knight. In fact, I think I like it better than Shovel Knight. It's got really cool music. Oh, and if you use the Konami code and you're doing the Contra thing, some of the songs are clearly inspired by music from the first Contra game. So they even changed that too. And when you go to the shops, instead of buying, upgrades for your mace, you're buying more powerful bullets. And instead of buying suits of armor, you're buying sleeveless shirts. And the sleeveless shirts increase your armor rating. So it's funny. Yeah, the bosses in the game are all really nasty looking. They look like something out of like an H.P. Lovecraft type of thing, or Hellraiser or something. Just all blood and guts and mouths opening up in their stomachs and eyeballs. And eventually, one of the bosses you'll fight is Baphomet, and Baphomet looks like your typical, goat man thing that you see in the artwork, but has got like big old man boobs, like moobs. And they bounce around while you're shooting him. And when he finally dies, thousands of eyeballs explode from his guts. He rips in half, and eyeballs just spew out of his guts into the air. It's a very, very gory, gross game, but it's a lot of fun. Let's see here. Hi, video game lover. What's good? Same old, same old. Have you checked out AVGN Adventures? I haven't played either one of them yet. I think I have them, but I haven't played them. But anyway, topic of discussion. As you guys know, I watch anime. I've watched anime since I was a kid. My first anime was black and white reruns of Gigantor on the local UHF station. And I then went from that to Voltron when Voltron came out in 1984. Now, I was a 10-year-old kid. I didn't even know what anime was. I was not aware that these were like repackaged Japanese shows. I just thought these were shows that were all made by the same animation studio and that they really needed to work on their lip syncing. I didn't discover until I was a little older that these shows were like actually made in Japan. That's how obscure anime was back then. Because, we were coming out with toys in America for it. And I didn't realize either that those toys were repackages of Japanese toys. But, you're a 10-year-old kid. You didn't have the internet. You didn't have anything. And these cartoons start showing up like any other cartoon, but they all have kind of a similar art style. So my first thought was, well, it's either the same animators or the same studio that's making all this stuff. Because I didn't know any better. Anyway, I've been watching anime for a long time. And since the COOF started, I've gotten subscriptions to Funimation and Crunchyroll because both of them have exclusive shows that the other one doesn't get. Gotta love that digital streaming, right? And since I'm not really going much of anywhere these days, I work from home. I don't really go out much. I have my groceries delivered, that sort of thing. Until things with this virus chills out, because I've had people that I know on a personal level die from it, so I'm not taking any chances considering all the medical things that I already have wrong with me as it is. I've been spending a lot of time at home, and so I've been kind of bouncing back and forth between play some game, play some video, watch some anime, watch a movie. And that's been my cycle. So I've watched, as you guys already know, Black Clover. I finished season 2 of Fire Force. I'm watching all these different animes. But then I started to notice something. I'm doing all right, enemy. I started to notice something. And that was that most, not all, but most of the anime that I watched as a teenager is not available on any streaming service. I'd get a hankering to watch something and that I watched as a teenager that I had on VHS tapes that I bought from Suncoast Video at the mall. And none of them are on those streaming services. And I'll check Crunchyroll, I'll check Funimation, I'll check VRV, which I don't have VRV anymore because it was just a combination of Funimation and Crunchyroll anyway. I check Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, which Hulu's anime section's kind of dying anyway, and none of them have them. And this irritated me. And so, bit by bit, piece by piece, I've been slowly rebuying anime that I had as a teenager. Some of it is proving to be a lot harder to find than others because a lot of it has gone out of print. But we're getting there. So I have some examples here. First of all is this one right here. Doomed Megalopolis. If you've never seen it, it's one of the darker, gorier animes. This is one of the early works from Studio Madhouse, which Madhouse makes a lot of the real popular anime nowadays. This one, it has to do with an evil dude that's trying to destroy the world, the usual kind of shit. But it takes place in, I think 1920s to 1930s Japan. And it's got some really disturbing imagery. And that's another thing I noticed is that a lot of these ones that haven't been re-released on digital platforms are ones that are especially gory. Not all of them. But I don't understand that because both of those services already have anime on them that's especially gory. I don't really get that. But anyway, Doomed Megalopolis is a keeper. The one thing that sucks about this is a Blu-ray release. The original artwork, this kick-ass artwork, it's only on the slip cover. You take the Blu-ray out, and it's just a plain black cover with the main villain on the front. I don't know why they didn't put that artwork on both the slip cover and the Blu-ray case. I don't get that. That's kind of irritating. Now here's another one that I picked. I don't have a whole lot of these because I just started doing this like a month or two ago. This one I'm really proud of. This is an anime that is not from my teenage years, actually. It's from my early years as a parent. When I was living in an apartment, me and my wife at the time were living in an apartment, and Eighth was about 3 years old. and Netflix was still a relatively new thing. And this was before they had streaming. This was when they'd mail the discs to your house. And I found this show, and knowing that he, even as young as 3 years old, showed a real interest in Transformers, I saw this on Netflix and saw that people were comparing it to Voltron, which I loved as a kid, and I thought maybe this is something that me and little Eighth can watch together. And so I started renting them, and he fell in love with it, and I ended up falling in love with it simply because it was something fun for me and him to watch together, and watching how excited he'd get watching it. And then it kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. It's never been on any of the streaming platforms. It's still not on any of the streaming platforms, and it's never been re-released here in the States on Blu-ray. So I've started picking it up bit by bit, and that is Geiger. I will soon have all 10 volumes of the original 49 episodes. There was a sequel series that had 10 episodes like in 2008 or something, but it was only ever released in Japan. This is volume 4, and then I managed to score this brand new. This is the volume 2 deluxe box set that has volumes 6 through 10. I would have liked to have had both of the box sets. The 1 through 5 is green, and this one is yellow. But for some reason, the box set for season 1 is like $400, whereas this was just like $25. And the individual discs that come in the $400 green box set can be had for like $25 a piece. So I don't understand it. But anyway, I'm really excited to tear back into this because we never actually saw all 49 episodes when Eighth was a little boy. Netflix only had the ones from Volume 1, the ones that were in English dub. Volume 2 was not dubbed into English. It's Japanese with subtitles only. But the other 4 volumes are coming, and so then I'll have the entire 10-disc set. And I'm really excited about that. And I mean, as you can see, these are brand new. They've never been opened. This one's still got the wrapping on it. And then finally, the most infamous one that I've added to my collection, considered to be, without getting into full-on hentai, one of the lewdest, dankest animes that ever came out of Japan and actually made it to the States. It came out, I think, either the year before or the year after Akira hit the United States. And I'm actually going to have to cover up part of the cover because the cover has an exposed titty on it. But that's Iroke Tsukadoshi, Legend of the Overfiend. If you know anything about anime, you know exactly what I'm holding here. Yes, the animation style has not aged well. It did not have the money behind it that Akira had. But it is really, really dark. It's very, very violent. But it's also got a really lewd... I can't believe that filter is blocking... Hold on a second. Let me turn that off for a minute. Hate when it does that. Alright. I'm just going to leave that filter off. I don't care that my room's a wreck. Here. Oh, shoot. I just showed the... There we go. Iroke Tsukadoshi. Iroke Tsukadoshi. Legend of the Overfiend. And this is not like a... it's not like a bootleg or anything. These are real discs. The only problem is the original of this from Japan. The original version of this from Japan was about 30 minutes longer than this. It was released in sections and OVAs. And what they did was they took 30 minutes out that they thought would be too shocking for American viewers and released it in the United States as this movie. And the stuff that they cut out was like, 3 seconds here, 4 seconds there. One of the scenes is where this will give you an idea of the kind of show this is. A monster takes his steel phallus, we'll say, and shoves it in the mouth of a female, and then spikes erupt from the steel phallus and explode her head. So, death by steel head. That's one of the things that they cut out of the American version. Of course, I didn't think of any of this at the time because I was a teenager, so I was fascinated with anything that was gory or gross. But it's actually got a cool story, although the story becomes sort of hilarious if you watch the U.S. English dub. Let me say this, it's worse than the original English dub of Akira. It's worse than that, and it's hilarious. But it's also kind of a piece of anime history because it's the first documented example of unconsented tentacle love, I guess would be the way to put it safely. Yeah. This was the first one. But it's kind of implied. It's not actually literally shown. It's just implied. Kind of like the tree scene in Evil Dead doesn't actually, show a hoo-ha. It just implies what's happening. Same thing here. It's mainly just TNA. But this was one of the ones that I had in my collection when I was a teenager, although I had it on VHS. And when I saw that you couldn't get it anywhere aside from watching, a crappy VHS rip on YouTube, I had to pick it up. So I've got that one. I've got some other ones that I want to pick up that you can't really find digitally either, unless maybe it's to buy them digitally. They're not on the streaming services like Wicked City, the original Devilman OVA, not the old Devilman TV show from the 70s, but the OVA from the 80s. I want to get that. There's a handful of others that are not on the streaming services, like Vampire Hunter D, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, The Lensman, and that was an old 80s sci-fi one. There's a lot of them that I want to pick back up that you just can't. They're not on Crunchyroll. They're not on anything, and so I've started doing that in addition to, feeding 8th's gaming addiction. So if you have any recommendations of 80s anime that I should be picking up, by all means. I also found a distributor who has a license to create box sets of the original Berserk anime. It's not the Box of Blood set that I had back when 8th was a little kid. But he has a license that when you order it, he has a company that presses real discs. They're not CDRs. Presses real discs, puts them all in a nice box set, and sends them to you. So I've got that coming. So let's see here. That's all I had to talk about today, so we can start answering questions. Hi, Ben. Hi, J-Chip. Fist of the North Star. Here's the thing about Fist of the North Star. I never watched the full episodic TV show of Fist of the North Star. When I was a teenager, the only thing you could find was where they had taken the show and condensed it into a movie, kind of like Overfiend here. And so that's what I had, was the 2-hour long Fist of the North Star movie. Both of those are on Blu-ray. You can get the full animated series, or you can get the movie that I had as a teenager. The movie's just $20. The full series is $80. So I don't know. I mean, I loved the movie when I was a kid. I don't know that I necessarily need to see the full show, because as a kid, I just had the movie and I loved it. I had it on VHS. I'm looking into getting an anime with my fiance. What should I start with? I'm a fan of good storyline. Well, that also depends on the genre. Anime has a lot of different genres, enemy. You got sci-fi, fantasy, horror, slice of life, comedy, and dude lanks, lewd dank stuff. I said dude lank. Are you going to watch E3 and Gamescom? Probably not. Ninja Scroll. Ninja Scroll is available on streaming, I think. I think Amazon Prime has it. Or maybe Amazon Prime has the Ninja Scroll series that came after the movie. I had the movie on VHS. And I remember the name of the company that released a lot of these tapes was Manga. And it was the same company that released the Devilman OVA box set. Now you can get that original Devilman OVA on Blu-ray for about $25, $27, $25. So I'll eventually be picking that one up too. Legend of the Overfiend is great. It's funny, J-Chip, I've seen the live action version of Jinro. I've never seen the anime. I've only seen the live action one. Damn, tons of these shows I've never seen or heard of. Only anime I've watched from start to finish was Death Note, Corpse Party, and Attack on Titan. Well, you haven't watched any of the 80s stuff that I watched, man. You want to see the really, really dark, violent stuff? The 80s is where it's at. This stuff that comes out nowadays, unless you get into the full-on hentai crap like Bible Black, can't touch it on gore and violence. I hope someday Discotech can get 97 Berserk on Blu-ray. Well, like I said, there was a Blu-ray set of it. There was a Blu-ray set of it in Japan. And you can buy it for about $34.95 on Amazon. But it's not going to play on your Blu-ray player. It won't even play on the PS5, even though the PS5 is supposed to be region-free. The reviews are full of people that tried to play it on their PlayStation consoles, and it wouldn't play it. Metal Slug 3, it's about the same as Metal Slug 1 and 2. Yeah, it's a fun Contra clone. Did you like Death Note? Yes, I liked the anime. And I liked the Japanese live-action movies. The Netflix one was garbage. But again, that's not like anime from my teenage years. That's, recent stuff. The full Fist of the North Star has a ton of filler and wasn't a good adaptation of the manga. So I might as well just buy the movie that I had on Blu-ray then. Because it tells the whole story. Oh, I tell you another one that I had back in the day that I'd like to have again. Now, this one, I don't know if it's available on DVD or Blu-ray, but it's very similar to Fist of the North Star. It's called Violence Jack. I'd like to have that one back, too. There was also a buddy cop show that was available on VHS, but as far as I can tell, was never released on DVD in the States. But you could get it on VHS in volumes at Suncoast, and it was called Mad Bull 34. That show is hilarious. It's basically Die Hard the anime mixed with a buddy cop comedy. You've got this guy called the Mad Bull, and he's been a cop for so long that he just has no shits left to give anymore, and he has no patience with criminals. So a lot of times, rather than trying to arrest somebody, he'll just pull up on them and blow their brains all over the sidewalk. And, I mean, it sounds It sounds just really wrong, but you just kind of have to watch it. It's actually a really funny show. No, you should not start your anime journey with Bible Black. In fact, I've only ever seen one episode of Bible Black, and that was enough. I never watched any more of it after that. But the very first episode of Bible Black has a scene that is a direct ripoff of a scene from the Legend of the Overfiend. That I will say it takes place in a school's nurse office. You know, the first aid room. It rips off this. Only the Bible Black one doesn't just imply it, it straight up shows it. Whereas, you know, Iroku Tsukadoshi just implies it. Let's see here. Did you like the Godfather video game? Not especially. 7th, are you a fan of 80s female music artists like Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, etc.? I never gave a crap about Madonna, but I did like some of Cyndi Lauper's music. Madonna's music never did anything for me. I thought it was really generic. I didn't think she had a good voice. Cyndi Lauper had way better range than Madonna ever did. Madonna was basically eye candy, and even then she wasn't very attractive. Not really. The Genro anime was by Production IG, the guys that animated Ghost in the Shell. I'll have to check it out. Did you think the ending of Death Note was bad? The anime? No. The Netflix movie? Yes. Thoughts on Sony censoring their games? Sony knows what some of the leftist U.S. response has been to anime in general. And they know that a lot of their games that come out of Japan have that anime influence. So what Sony is trying to do is just stay out of the way of the left. So if you want to be angry at somebody, be angry at social justice warriors that want to control what you can and can't watch. Because they're the ones that Sony are trying to avoid. Which do you think was better, Die Hard or Lethal Weapon? I like both, but for different reasons. You know, they're similar in some ways. The sense of humor is similar between the two. It's just that one of them, you've got, you know, polar opposite cops that become friends, and with Die Hard, you kind of have that too, only the other cop is down on the ground, and the smart-ass crazy cop is by himself up in a skyscraper. So it's kind of the same thing. It's just, you know, the two buddies are only together by radio. The dub for Mad Bull 34 is hilariously bad, but exactly. That was part of the charm of watching anime when I was a teenager, was that the U.S. dubs, you never knew what you were going to get. You were either going to get pretty good or you were going to get abysmally bad. Like horrible, literally sounds like somebody they dragged out from the sidewalk and had them read the script. It's really, some of it was just epically bad, but that's what made some of them fun, was the acting. Because these American actors would try to mimic, in some cases, the over-the-top Japanese acting that you tend to get in anime back then, whereas in other dubs, they didn't understand what was going on, and so you had characters that were acting crazy and mad, and the voice actor would be like, "I'm gonna get you, you son of a bitch." It's just funny stuff. Let's see here. Hey, 7th, I saw Uncharted last night at the theater and it sucked. You're the first person who I know, or sort of know, who has gone to see it and didn't like it. I'm waiting for it to hit streaming. I'll watch it then. I'm not risking going to a theater to see Tom Holland play Nathan Drake. I'm just not doing it. 80s anime or 80s American cartoons. In a lot of ways, those were the same thing. G.I. Joe was animated by Japanese animators or Japanese anime companies. So was Transformers and G.I. Joe. Some of the animation for Thundercats and Silverhawks was done in Japan. So, and then, you know, you had Japanese shows hitting the U.S. in the 80s, like Voltron and some others. So, kind of the same thing. It's just that we were only getting the kid-friendly stuff. And if you go back even and watch the show that Voltron was based on, King of Beasts Go Lion or whatever it was called, it's a lot darker and more violent than what we got in the States. You know, a lot more violent. The U.S. show got away with it by calling all of the bad guys that Voltron was killing robots and robeasts. But in the Japanese version, they're not robots and robeasts. They're actual sentient living creatures that they're slicing up with swords and stuff. So, yeah. 7th, do you watch Newt Wallen? This guy was previously on Hack the Movies. He has tons of stories. No, haven't watched him. 7th, woke culture is why I pulled myself from nerd culture. They messed up literally everything, and I prefer old stuff and making my own content. Do you think I'm... Nah, it's fine. I mean, look what's happening on Amazon with Lord of the Rings. And I'm not talking about the fact that they have black actors portraying some of these characters. Tolkien never spent a whole lot of time talking about skin tone of characters. He talked about the cultures and the societies. He did mention a tribe or whatever of the hobbits that had darker skin, but he never really specified too much with the other characters. It was all about, you know, their society, their culture, their motivations, things like that. But then you have Galadriel leading the armies, which didn't happen, while the leader of the Elrond. Elrond is like some pacifist artist in this show, and the dwarves are led by a queen instead of a king, and she doesn't have a beard. You know, it says specifically in Tolkien's lore that female dwarves also had beards just like the males did. But for whatever reason, they chose not to show that. And there's lots of other things. The person that's supposed to be like the Tolkien historian expert that they have on staff recently posted a tweet saying that it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to see characters in the future seasons of the Amazon show using firearms. Firearms in Middle-earth. I'm just saying. It's not just it's not, you know, a bunch of racists that are pointing at black actors in the show. It's that they're showing literally no respect to the source material. You know, the Silmarillion and the histories and all that have plenty of characters in them. They didn't have to create new characters, but they did because Tolkien didn't specifically have a black-skinned elf or a black-skinned dwarf or a Latino-skinned dwarf, so they felt they had to create new characters like that so that no one would get mad if one of Tolkien's characters showed up a different skin tone than what the audience was expecting. And by doing that and a bunch of other things, they've disrespected the source material. And that's the real reason why people are shitting on it so much right now. Anyway. Helsing, I've tried to watch Helsing multiple times, but I couldn't get into it. I loved the anime style, but the first couple of episodes are just so damn slow. Maybe I'll try it again tonight after the 7thCast is over. No, I never watched the Andy Griffith Show. I didn't care for it. Yeah, to me, it was just a boring black and white show when I was a kid. Now, I watched other things from that era when I was a kid. I watched I Dream of Jeannie, Gilligan's Island, Bewitched, stuff like that. But Andy Griffith, I never liked. Who do you think was the best Uncharted villain? I liked I think he was Russian, the Russian dude in Uncharted 2. I liked him. Can't remember his name. I haven't played that game in a long time. Did you like Matrix Resurrections? Not really, no. No. Had a couple of cool scenes, but overall I didn't think it was a good movie. No, I have not watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. I saw the opening of that scene on the bus where that dude was like, "We're trying to get you canceled," and I was like, I don't want to watch that. You know, maybe the rest of it is good, but that scene turned me off to the prospect of watching it. Candyman 1992 was great. I haven't seen the new Candyman, so I don't know how it measures up. You know, I'm not going to pay to watch it. I'll wait till it's free. Celebrity Deathmatch, yeah, I watched a few episodes of it back in the day. Hi, Short Round. Lazarevich, yeah, okay. Yeah, I like that dude. Now, the guy that made Wicked City, he also made another one that I also liked, and I can't remember the full name of it, but it was called Demon City. And that one was really good too. There is one that I had in my collection back in the day that actually is available streaming. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's a sci-fi movie called Lily Cat. And it's basically, they took ideas from The Thing, and they took ideas from the original Aliens movie, and they squished them together into one film. So you have these people on a spaceship exploring space, and a shape-shifting alien gets on board that can change its shape into other things. And so they're slowly dying because they don't know which one of them is it, and they don't know if it's the cat or if it's something else or what have you. And it's like a mixture of Aliens and The Thing in one thing. And that one you can watch free on Amazon Prime if you have Amazon Prime. But I may still buy that one on Blu-ray anyway if it's available. I just want the last 4 missing volumes of Gal Geiger to show up so I can watch it all the way through, start to finish. I'm so excited to rewatch that. I have not watched this stuff since 8th was like 4 or 5 years old. Black Lagoon is pretty good. I like Black Lagoon. 7th, if you could, would you ever own a pit bull? No. My neighbor owned a pit bull when I lived up in North Carolina, and I never had a bad experience with the dog. You know, he was a very friendly, loving dog, but at the same time, he didn't know his own strength. And so he would get loose from his chain because they kept him chained up in the backyard, but their yard was not fenced in. And he would see me come home from work and get out of my car, and he would yank the chain out of the ground, and he would come running up and leap up on me and almost knock me over. And we had an angled driveway, a raised driveway, and he'd almost knocked me down the driveway. He was so big. And every time he did it, he'd be slurping my face and all this stuff, but he'd also end up putting these deep scratches on my shoulders. He didn't know his own strength, and I knew he didn't mean to do it. He was as loving as could be. But, that's why I've never wanted a pit bull. If I was going to get a big dog, which I rent, so I'm not allowed to have a big dog, but if I was going to get a big dog, I'd either get a Husky or a German Shepherd, because I grew up with a German Shepherd, and, I watched my dad train our German Shepherd. I know how to train a German Shepherd, and I just have a real love and affinity for that breed. But not going to be able to happen until, I'm in a position where I don't have to rent a house anymore and I can own one. Which I'm not quite making enough money for that. I mean, I owned a house up in North Carolina, but in North Carolina, you could have a house about this size for $750 a month. Down here, just renting a house this size, $1,485 a month. This house cost me practically twice as much as what I was paying to own a house in North Carolina. And part of the problem is Texas property taxes. They charge you out the ass every year in property tax to own a house. Several $1,000s a year, depending on the size of the home and where it's at. And I think it's pretty crappy. I mean, I don't have to pay, when I lived in North Carolina, I had to pay property taxes on my house there, but it wasn't near as much as Texas, and it was looped in to my monthly mortgage payment. But you also had to pay property tax on your car in addition to registering it every year, and that doesn't happen down here. So I'm at least happy about that. The only thing about the Husky breed is you have to get used to how talkative they are. They love to talk. And more so than just about any other breed I can think of. And although Chihuahuas will do it a lot too, depending on the type of Chihuahua you get. But you have to get used to that. You have to get used to Huskies yapping at you all the time. And I mean, you could train them to not do that, but you would be essentially messing with the nature of what type of dog that dog is. And those dogs are naturally talkative dogs. And so I would not train a Husky to not do that, because that's part of what makes them a Husky. But you would still have to deal with the fact that you could be trying to read a book, watch a show, and all of a sudden, you'd have to get used to that. German Shepherds, not so much. They'll do it a little bit, but mostly it's just, they'll growl or, that's about all you get out of aside from regular barking that you'd get out of a German Shepherd, but not with Huskies. And depending on the type of Chihuahua you get, Chihuahuas are like little Huskies. Meow, 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 meow. They do it all. Not all of them. Not every one that I've had. I've told you about the one that I had, JD, that which was short for Lord Jose of Dingleberry, which I named him as a teenager, and I named him that because me and my dad used to make me watch the dog shows with him on USA Network, and some of the ridiculously long names that these dogs had on their pedigrees, Frederick Fitzcharles VI, and all this stupid kind of crap. And so I named him that to make fun of people that do that. So I named him Lord Jose of Dingleberry and called him JD for short. And he could say a lot of things. He could say, I'm hungry. He could say, I want out. He could say water. He would say yum yum if he wanted a snack or a bite of your food. He could say, I love you. he could say nope. I'd be like, JD, you ready to go to bed? No. No. I really think you need to go to bed. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, he was a weird dog. I'd be sitting there eating spaghetti or whatever I was eating, and I'd hear yum yum, and I'd look down, and he'd be looking up at me, and he'd go yum yum. Or he'd walk over to the door wanting to go take a leak, and he'd stare at the door, and then he'd turn and look at me. And then he'd stare at the door, and then he'd turn and look at me. And on the third one, he'd stare at the door, turn to look at me, and go, I'm out. I'm out. And so I'd go and let him out. I wish I had some of that on videotape, but sadly I don't, because at the time that we had JD, we were too poor to afford a camcorder. This was when camcorders, camcorders are expensive now, but at the same time, you can get a little Sony Handycam for $300 or $400. This was back when camcorders were still like $1,000. Hey, Tokes. Jack Russells can be feisty because they're little dogs that think they're big dogs, kind of like Chihuahuas, but they're bigger than Chihuahuas, so they can put more of a hurt on you if you let them. I had a Jack Russell once, and she was a feisty little bitch. Let's see here. Whole chat turned into talks about dogs. Our German Shepherd, when I grew up, was named Julius Caesar, or just Caesar for short. And he was one of the smartest dogs I've ever seen. My dad had him so well trained, and he was intelligent. He could figure stuff out. My dog JD was like that too. You could watch him trying to figure out how to get to something that he wanted. So JD would look over here, and then he'd look over here, and then he'd look up here, and you could just see him working out his plan of attack of how he was going to get to that cookie or whatever it was on the kitchen table that he wanted, that we wouldn't give him. And JD would seek revenge. He's the one I told you about in previous 7thCast, where if you did something to wrong him, he'd shit on your pillow or piss in your shoe, or he had actually taught himself how to do a handstand just so he could stick his dick up vertically in the air and piss on something at a higher altitude than he normally would be able to piss, just to piss on something of yours. Yeah, that was JD. Funny little dog. Let's see here. Tokes. I had a female blue nose pit, and she was strong. She pulled everybody. She didn't pull me. I yanked her ass into a sit-down position. Can you guys still hear me? Did my video just freeze? Yeah, the picture's frozen. I'm not sure what's happening here. Can you still hear me, at least? I wonder... Let me see if I can... trying to see if I can figure out a way to like refresh or reboot the camera without ending the stream. But I'm not sure how to do that. I don't know if I have a way to unfreeze it. I'm trying to look for a way to unfreeze the camera, but I'm not entirely sure of a way that I could do that. Huh. Yeah, it's frozen on everything. I don't know, the whole camera's froze up. Where the camera is plugged in is somewhere that I can't easily get to. It's not plugged into my little USB hub. It's plugged directly into the back of the unit. And I don't have an easy way to get. Yes, I'm using OBS, but it doesn't appear to be just coming from OBS, because even my I can go into my NVIDIA broadcast and the image is frozen on there too. I'm wondering if I could go into like maybe Task Manager and restart something. If I could like reset it that way. Like if I could pull up maybe maybe in one of the processes. All right. Let me see what that did. And let me close that. Okay, so that killed that. So let me see if maybe, and that shut the camera down. Let me see if maybe, I think what happened is NVIDIA broadcast crashed. I think my NVIDIA broadcast crashed. Okay. All right, give it a second, and we'll see if it comes back. There we go. It's moving again. Okay. It's fixed. My bachelor's degree. Hard at work. NVIDIA broadcast crashed on me. Troubleshooting, baby. That's what I used to do when I first got in this industry. Worked on a help desk. That was one of my early careers. I started out as a traffic manager and then went to a different company and became help desk. Doing help desk tech support is like doing a treasure hunt in reverse. You start at the X marks the spot, and you work your way backwards to the start of the map. You've got your result. You need to know where it started, and so you start working backwards. So I just worked backwards until I realized, hey, I could end task NVIDIA broadcast and then reboot it. So, oh, yes. Yes, I was too busy troubleshooting. Hold on just a second. 2 hours remaining. Two hours remaining. We have had 0 donations, either from Streamlabs or the little button with the $sign on it. Neither one. Neither one. Not a dime. Not a dime. Seventh, have you noticed due to COVID, I've seen many shows but no follow-up to second season 2? Wouldn't that be season 3? Probably because a lot of things got put on hiatus because of the virus. Have you ever ordered pizza using your radio voice? No. I've never done that. Hey there, folks. Greetings and salutations. This is the 7th level, and I'll be placing an order today. No, I've never done that. You've got your ears glued to the wall. I want my pizza in 30 minutes. We'll play you some Green Day right after this. No. No, I've never done that. Kind of a weird question, but okay. I'll roll with it. I'll roll with it. Hi, Narakami. How's it going? How's it going? Oh. Have you seen the Arcane cartoon series? Pretty good. No. But you know what? Something that I thought was going to be a complete dumpster fire, I've actually been enjoying, and that's on Amazon. The Legend of Vox Machina. That show is hilarious. And I mean, it's got all the usual representation. It's got people of color in it. It's got gay representation, you know. But it's not. It doesn't ram that down your throat. They're there, and it reveals that kind of stuff through their characteristics and who they are. And the show, for this day and age, I'm kind of shocked it got made, because it's kind of lewd, man. It starts out with their version of hobbits, which are gnomes. It starts out with a gnome like getting it on with a prostitute at the inn, at the brothel or whatever. And I mean, it shows TNA and everything. And the F-bomb is dropped like nobody's business in this show. Every other word is the F-bomb. And the story is actually good, and the characters are all really well thought out and well acted. It's a surprisingly good show. And I suspect that it's made by the same people who did Invincible, because it feels like Invincible in some ways. Only the comedy aspect is cranked up. But I'm liking it a lot. And if you haven't been watching it because you thought it was going to be woke garbage, you might want to give it a try and see what you think. Seventh, I've been imitating your calm composure, and I think some girls I've been talking to seem to appreciate my company. You inspire me, man. Okay, that's kind of weird, but I'll run with it, Ultra Steel. If it helps you out, then it's fine. Seventh, would you say Chrono Cross is a solid RPG on its own when it's not compared to its predecessor? Yes. Glad the stream's working again. So am I. I've never had that happen before. I've been dropped out of the chat or the stream before, had the stream killed, but I've never had my camera freeze up on me like that before. And it's obvious that it was NVIDIA broadcast. I don't know what happened to it. Hopefully it doesn't happen again tonight. I don't want to have to keep doing that all night. Of course, we only have 2 hours left because nobody's donated nothing. Let's see here. Oh, and again, clean frame. I'm going to go ahead and show it because you did edit the word out. What is going to be the first non-video game on DBTS? Probably called Don't Watch This. Yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about it, but I haven't really decided what I want to do there. 7th thoughts on the people who made Scalebound wanting Microsoft to finish the game for Xbox. Well, if they want to make it and they think they can actually... I don't know what the real story was there. I know when it first happened, Platinum has since come out and said it was their fault. But I don't know if that's really true or if that's them trying to suck up to Microsoft because they want Microsoft to buy them out. Because their games haven't exactly been bestsellers. But the story when all that first happened was that they started making this Scalebound game, and then Microsoft said, oh, and by the way, we want it to have online multiplayer, and Platinum had no experience or background in online multiplayer and couldn't get it to work, and eventually Microsoft decided they'd put enough into it and they just canceled it. That was the original story. Yeah, Invincible's pretty good. Tokes, better video, you in business, 7th. What do you mean by me in business? Oh, the fixed video. Okay, I get you. It's working. Gotcha. Thanks, Tokes. 7th, did you get a copy of Dying Light 2? No, I've still not gotten a copy. I couldn't get a copy of Dying Light 2. I had to get 8th, Horizon Forbidden West. And next week, he's getting the $200 collector's edition of Elden Ring. And I won't get to play that either. Because he gets first dibs on everything that comes in the house. That's just the way it is. And so I have not had the extra money to buy myself my own copy of it. Yes, it's a USB webcam. It's a Logitech C920. 7th, did 8th ever play the DS game Drawn to Life? Yes, he used to play Drawn to Life. In fact, we have Drawn to Life on the Wii and the Wii U, I think. He doesn't care for it anymore, but he liked it when he was a kid. 8th is really liking Horizon Forbidden West, by the way. He said that the gameplay and the quests and whatnot were a lot better than the first game. Said that it was basically it is basically what Witcher 3 would be like if Witcher 3 had Monster Hunter style monster fights in it. So pretty high praise because both of those are games that 8th really likes. But he came in and played it for a couple hours in the game room, and I watched him play it. And there are some graphical problems going on with Horizon Forbidden West. Don't let the fanboys fool you. There are some imperfections going on here. Now, I haven't seen the frame chugging that people have been posting on Twitter all day, like Arsenal and a couple of others that I know, where it almost looks like the system is throttling because you're just getting like still frame, couple of seconds of motion, still frame, couple of seconds of motion. They have to shut the system. They have to shut the game down and restart it. They don't have to reboot the system, and it's fine again. Which that leads me to suspect that it's not throttling. It's not overheating or anything. There's memory leak somewhere in the design, and as that memory leak builds up, the longer you play it in one sitting, it starts to chug. And so kind of like what, sort of similar to what happened to the PS3 version of Skyrim, for example. And so that's why shutting the game down and bringing it back up fixes it, because it's refreshing the memory. But that's not exactly what happened with Skyrim. With Skyrim, it was because every time you killed something or every time an item dropped on the ground, it was saving that information onto your save file. And so the bigger your save file got, the worse the game ran. But it was still a memory problem. And that's what I think this is a memory leak problem that can be fixed in a patch. But there's other things going on with it. 8th is playing in performance mode because he refuses to play 30 frames per second on any game if he can avoid it. And the 60 frames per second mode has some aliasing problems. Some rather bad aliasing problems. There'd be lots of jaggies and distortion in the backgrounds. And that is also something that can be patched out. And how do I know this? Because Insomniac does it on every game that they release. Rift Apart, Spider-Man Miles Morales, both of them have 60 frames per second modes that do not have that kind of aliasing and background distortion that Horizon does. One of them being an open world game like Horizon. So it's got to be some kind of an issue with that Decima engine that modified Decima engine that they got from Kojima that they're using to build that game, or Kojima got from them. I can't remember which now. Either they got it from Kojima or Kojima borrowed it from them to make Death Stranding. I can't remember, but there's some problems there that needs to be patched out. I've also seen characters disappear and reappear in the background during cutscenes. I've seen texture pop up, and I've seen buildings, entire buildings just not appear till you get right up on them. And I think most of this is all coming from a memory problem. There's some kind of a memory leak problem going on with that game, and if you play it long enough, it gets so bad that instead of just textures and whatnot failing to load and the anti-aliasing not working, the whole game starts to chug. So they can fix that with a patch, but let's be honest, considering they had an entire year delay on it, that's something that should have already been patched before it ever went gold. Because it's not even a subtle thing that only shows up every now and again. You play the game for 8 hours, and you've got a good chance it's going to start chugging like that. So then you have to save, shut the game down, reload it, and it's fine. That is memory leakage. And that's something that should have been picked up by QA before it was ever pressed gold. And I'm sorry, I'm not a fanboy. If Naughty Dog or Guerrilla or Insomniac or Sony Santa Monica F up a release and miss something that obvious in their Q&A, yes, I'm going to call it out. That should have been fixed before it was pressed. Otherwise, the game is amazing. It's jaw-dropping. It really is. It's just having some performance problems right now. Let's see here. Have you played Gears 5? Yes, I've played Gears 5. I'm not a fan of Gears, but I played it for a few minutes just to see how much better the Series X version was than Gears 4 on the Xbox One, graphically. I'm in my indie bag when it comes to my backlog. What'd you give Death's Door? I haven't played Death's Door yet. Indiana Jones, Uncharted, or Tomb Raider, which do you prefer? Indiana Jones. 7th, have you ever done a prank call in another voice for laughs? Yeah, we used to do prank calls when I was a teenager. We used to call up people at random, me and my group of friends, and we would sing lewd opera to them, harmonized. So we'd call them up, and they'd say hello, and then all my friends would be like, suck my wiener, suck my wiener, suck my wiener, and we'd all be in harmony a cappella, singing this at people. Just stupid crap like that. We'd do that like once or twice a month. Everyone would come over and spend the weekend in my basement, and just coming up with stupid stuff to do. We'd whip out the phone book and just start calling random numbers and doing stupid crap like that. Seventh, another weird question, but since you're experienced out there in the field, what are the pros and cons of freelancing? Well, freelancing, it all depends on what industry you're wanting to freelance in. In some industries, it's more viable than others. I, for one, would not do it because I prefer stability and reliability with my paycheck. Kojima got it from them. Okay, I couldn't remember. Hello, lols. Lols are 16. Lolzor. Batman comes out on my birthday, March 4th. Time to get my Batman cape on. I want to see it, but I don't want to go to a theater to see it, because I'm just afraid I'll end up with some idiot behind me koofing all over me. Seventh, I think I got rejected on Valentine's Day. I asked my crush if she wanted to play online together, and she never replied. Thoughts? Not something that I would have invited a girl to do for Valentine's Day. Hey, you want to hop online and play some Final Fantasy 14? I would have been like, hey, let's go here. Or let's go grab a bite. Do you want to, I would have done that. Inviting them to play a game online isn't exactly sweeping them off their feet. You know what I'm saying? Even if they're a gamer. Seventh, do you believe a GoldenEye remaster will happen? Well, it kind of already happened back in the PS3 era. You had that sort of remake of GoldenEye that was made for the Wii, and then it got ported over to the 360 and the PS3, and no one seems to remember it. Prank calling is illegal. Yes, it is. It was illegal back then, but we did it anyway because we were teenagers and didn't know any better. Ah, crap. That sucks. Oh well. Okay, I'm good for a while. Let's see here. Seventh, you're sounding paranoid with all this coof garbage. Well, you can call it garbage all you want. I know people that are dead now. People in my immediate inner circle. People that I talked with every day. Dead. In a coma. In the hospital. Dead. Going to sleep with a cough and not waking up the next day. Dead. And keep all that hoax crap to yourself, son. I've seen it. I'm surrounded by it. Family members, friends, co-workers, dead. Seventh, have you seen the movies Office Space? Yes, I've seen it 100 times. Do you think Gears of War is a rip-off of Resistance? No, Gears of War came out first. And Gears of War was first announced as a multi-plat game. They did a spread on it in a magazine before the 360 even came out. And Epic was talking about how it was going to be released on both Xbox, the new Xbox and the new PlayStation. And then Microsoft, I guess, snatched up the publishing rights and made it exclusive. This was before they bought Epic. Well, they had bought at one point the studio. You know what I'm saying. But not Epic as we know Epic now, but you get what I'm saying. They bought the franchise from them, I guess you could say. But it originally was a multiplat, and they showed pictures of it like around 2004 or so in a magazine. So, it came before Resistance. And plus, Gears of War is third person and takes place in the future. Resistance is first person and takes place in alternate 1950s. Alternate reality 1950s. Seventh, do you think the Book of Boba Fett screwed up Mandalorian Season 3 and potentially the rest of Star Wars? I'm not going to put that much thought into it because ultimately we don't know what they're going to do with the Grogu character. And, Overlord DVD, otherwise known as Doomcock, had put out a video saying that if Grogu stays with Luke, then Star Wars is saved. If he goes back to the Mandalorian, then that means that Kathleen Kennedy still has control of everything, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that I agree with that. We just have to see what they're going to do with it. What if Grogu ends up being a little Mandalorian character who also, knows the ways of the Force and how to use a lightsaber? I mean, that'd be a pretty cool character. We just have to see. Does this mean we won't see Luke in the show anymore? Who knows? They're giving Reacher a show reboot. I know. And the MC is actually a big guy, not Tom Cruise height. What do you think? I think it's the guy that was on that live action Teen Titans show. He was the big, tall, muscular dude that was dressed up like a bird that got blew up when Tim Drake or whoever, or was it Tim Drake or was it Jason Todd? I think it was Jason Todd. Put a bomb on his chest and blew him up. I think it's the same actor. I think. Was Detroit Become Human trash? Didn't play it. Eighth played it, but I haven't played it. It's sitting on the shelf. One thing's for sure, Star Wars definitely not safe with her still at the helm. Gears of War and Resistance came out around the same time. They came out the same year. But that doesn't mean that Gears of War didn't start development earlier because, again, like I said, it was in magazines all the way back in 2004. And again, the two games are nothing alike. Gears of War is a third-person cover-based sci-fi shooter in the future. Resistance is a first-person shooter set in the alternate history 1950s. They're not anything alike aside from their color tone, because there was a lot of games during that part of that generation that instead of being bright and colorful were all browns and grays. Favorite Spider-Man villains? Green Goblin. Falcon, short round. Falcon was the male one. White Dove was the female one. I said a big, tall, muscular dude. So yeah, it'd be Falcon, bro. Oh. My, oh my, oh my. I tell you. I've just become fixated on snatching up all these old animes from my teenage years, and I'm trying to remember all the ones that I had. I had like entire racks of anime on VHS that I bought from that Suncoast video. I went to Suncoast every weekend when I got my paycheck, and I would buy, anime. And I can't remember everything that I had though. Wicked City's definitely going to be one of the next ones I pick up. That and the Devilman OVA from '87. Seventh, ever try eating chips with hot sauce poured on them? No, that's not something that I do. What is going to be the next BTS, if you don't mind me asking? Probably Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I've had the footage recorded for a long time now. I just haven't put the video together. As far as what's going to be the next DBTS, I haven't decided yet. Did you and your friends in school trade anime tapes? No, because there was only like 3 people that I knew who watched anime when I was in high school. And and 2 of them lived together because they were brothers. And they didn't own any anime. They just had bootleg tapes where they had hooked a couple of VCRs up together and had copied other people's stuff. So it wasn't so much trading as they would borrow tapes from me and dub them and then give them back. They didn't have anything that I wanted because all they had were like, shoddy bootleg tapes. I remember buying one tape of The Dirty Pair, and I didn't buy anything else with it because I just didn't like it very much. I didn't like that one. But, I owned Akira and Vampire Hunter D and Fist of the North Star and Urotsukidoshi and the Doomed Megalopolis and several others. Wicked City. I had one that was called Neo Tokyo. I had a couple of volumes of the Pat Labor, or however you pronounce that. I had Appleseed, Armitage the Third, there was a Macross Saga something or other. That was a 3-volume OVA. I had that. I had a bunch of stuff, man. Ninja Scroll. I had Mad Bull. I had several volumes of several tapes of Mad Bull 34, as I recall. I don't remember if even Evangelion was a thing yet. I do remember having 1 or 2 tapes of Bubblegum Crisis. I remember having a couple of tapes of that, but I didn't get into that one. Just a bunch of stuff. I had all of the Devilman OVAs that were available in the States. I had the Lensman. I had that one. A lot of anime on VHS. And then for some reason, I never got into trying to rebuy any of it when DVD became a thing. Mainly because it took a while for anime to start showing up on DVD in the States. And by the time it did, I'd kind of moved on to other things. So now I'm kind of rediscovering some of my stuff. Gunsmith Cats I'm not familiar with. Violence Jack. I had Violence Jack. Did your ex-wife sell your anime collection too? No. Me being the dumbass that I was at the time, when I bought my first DVD player, which was that $500 single disc Magnavox DVD player that every store in the country had. When I bought that, I went to McKay's Used Books out in Brainerd outside of Chattanooga and sold all of my VHS tapes to them. Kept my VCR, but sold all my VHS tapes to use as money to start my DVD collection. Stupid thing to do, but that's what I did. Why is Slash harder than Super Shredder in Turtles in Time? I have no idea. 7th, do you see Wii U and 3DS games going up in value in light of... Yes, I've seen some of them. I mean, most of the Wii U games that I have are dirt cheap. I don't have that... we don't have that many 3DS games because 8th just didn't get into the 3DS the way he got into the Vita. So we don't really have that many 3DS games. What we do have is mostly all killer, no filler, but it's one of our smaller portable collections. Wii U, we only bought exclusives for, and most of them are still dirt cheap. You know, you can buy them complete for like, you know, somewhere between $15 to $20, except for two. And that's... Xenoblade Saga or whatever, the one with the mechs on Wii U, the one that came in a box with like an art book and a CD or whatever. That one is over $100, and then the Devil's Turd that I bought strictly because it was an exclusive. It's now over $300 for box complete. So I have those on my shelf. The rest of them aren't really that worth that much yet. Why is Devil's Turd so expensive? There weren't that many copies released of it in the States. I actually managed to get one because I had it on pre-order. I had a suspicion that it might end up being a rare. And I was right. Yes, the Magnavox DVD player came out before the PS2. And DVD players hit the U.S. market in 1997. PS2 came out in 2000. So DVDs were around for 3 years before the PS2 came out. But by the time the PS2 came out, DVD players still hadn't dropped that much in price yet. You know, they were still kind of pricey. So paying $300 to get a DVD player plus a new game system was a good buy compared to just buying a DVD player. And, you know, they had 5-disc changers by that point, but they were like, you know, $500 and $600 at the time. What do you think Capcom is teasing with that website that has a time counter? The rumor is that Monday they're going to be announcing Street Fighter 6. I don't know if that's true, but that's what the going rumor is right now. I've seen that reported on a couple of gaming news sites this weekend. I will not be getting WWE 2K22. I don't think I have any of the WWE 2K games. I don't think I have any of them. I don't think. Not on purpose, anyway. We have Attack on Titan and Attack on Titan 2 for PS4. We pre-ordered them both. So those are in the collection on the shelf right now. There are a few that I wish I'd bought that I didn't buy. Like there's an anime dungeon crawler called Demon's Gaze 2. Started out as a Vita game and was ported to the PS4. I wish I'd bought that one, but I didn't. It's going for well over $100 at this point. So there are some that I suspected might become rare, but I didn't buy them because I didn't think 8th would play them. And now I kind of wish that I had. I didn't have any experience with Laserdisc. I didn't know a single person who owned one. The only time I ever saw it up close was at a rental store in Atlanta. I was spending the weekend with my cousin who lived in Atlanta, and he took me to a rental store. This was before Blockbuster, to rent some movies. And it was so odd because this was a rental store that was actually inside the mall as opposed to being its own standalone thing. And they rented both movies and the systems. And you could buy the systems as well. And they had a Laserdisc section. But I never actually knew anybody that owned one. No, I've never played Here Comes the Payne. I bought Alicia Dragoon for $10 in 2013, and now it's $100. But yeah, I've got it on my shelf too. I don't know why that one's rare. Every time I go to, well, before all this Coof stuff happened, every time I go to a gaming convention, you'd see a copy of Alicia Dragoon on every table. Everybody had that game. So I don't know why it shot up in value. I didn't really see it volume-wise as being that rare of a title. Because like I said, every table had at least one copy of it sitting on their table. So I don't know what the deal is with that. And I can remember, because Alicia Dragoon didn't end up being the hit for Sega that they wanted it to be. Alicia Dragoon, right up until when the Genesis ceased production, was a regular member of the bargain bin. So there ought to be like unopened copies of Alicia Dragoon all over the place. I really don't understand that one. Final Battle was the updated version. I think it goes for like 150 to 300. I don't know. I think I have just regular Attack on Titan 2. I'd have to ask 8th. He would know which version of it we had. 7th, would you ever order a collectible figurine offline with no way of seeing its condition? No. Get ready to see Silent Service for $500. Oh, I doubt it. Silent Service is one that you see people practically give it away at the cons because there's so many copies of it out there. Any table you go to at Retropalooza, there'd be a stack of Silent Service like this thick at every table. Because nobody wants that shit. I don't have Silent Service. Even though you can buy it for like 50 cents. I don't have it. Ever went to a baseball game? And no, I did not watch the Super Bowl. I don't watch sports. When I was a kid, my neighbor took me to see the local minor league team, which was the Chattanooga Lookouts, at Lovell Stadium. I think it was called Lovell Stadium. And so, you know, and then when I was like in my early 20s, I think my cousin and I went to see a Lookouts game maybe. So, you know, I saw the Lookouts twice. I've never been to see any other major league team, even though, you know, I lived 90 minutes from Atlanta, so I could have gone to see the Braves play anytime I wanted to. I just didn't care about sports, man. The only reason I went to see the Lookouts was because I was invited to go see them and I didn't want to be rude. Seventh, have you ever seen People vs. Predators on YouTube? He's that predator catcher that caught that dude who worked for Sony. You should see him. He's funny. No, I don't tend to watch that kind of stuff on YouTube. I mostly watch like true crime stuff and you know, retro game collecting stuff and a little bit of the Crumbside stuff and darker horror channels. and like internet mystery channels like Nexpo and Nightmind and stuff like that. In fact, Nexpo is probably one of my favorite YouTube channels. It's just that he doesn't put out videos that much because he puts so much work into the ones that he makes. So it takes a while for him to get new content out. But I like Nexpo's channel a lot. Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse message retract. Yeah, Four Horsemen. He comments on every video that I make on this channel and on the new channel. He's pretty dedicated. You know, I'd like for my new channel to be doing better than it is, but YouTube, as it turns out, has this new policy where if it's a fairly new channel, you'll get a little pop-up that prevents you from watching the video that you clicked on, saying this is a new channel, and basically saying until this channel has proven itself trustworthy, the only way you can watch any videos that it put out is if you subscribe to the channel. It's weird, but the ultimate end result is that even though I have, going towards 250 subscribers on that channel, very few of my videos are getting actual 250 views. So I think even with a new channel, they're not sending the notifications out to everybody that subscribed to me when I post a video. I am debating about to buy a Killer Instinct 2 arcade machine. Well, I mean, if that's something you really want, I wasn't even aware that Killer Instinct 2 had an arcade cabinet. I thought Killer Instinct 2 was a console thing, but that's just me. I didn't follow that series very closely, so I wouldn't know. I'm not an authority on Killer Instinct because fighting games were not really ever a thing I was big on. I was more into the beat-em-ups. Played any Horizon Forbidden West yet? No, it's all an 8 thing so far. Most underrated PS4 and Xbox One exclusive? No idea. I couldn't tell you about underrated. You name a game and I'll tell you if I've played it and whether I thought it was good or not. Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. $5. Thank you to Four Horsemen. I always wanted to get DBZ physically, but Funimation Toei has never made a DVD Blu-ray release that was on par or better than the original Air release. You'll find that a lot with 80s anime. I don't know why that is. I really don't. I don't know if they think that there's no one out there that would pay money for it. I mean, I'm assuming that that's the reason that Gal Geiger here was never released on Blu-ray in the States, because the DVDs didn't sell all that great in the States, and yet the first box, the green box, the first 5 volumes, goes for $400 nowadays, whereas volume 2, this yellow one, $28, and you can buy the first 5 volumes individually for like $25 to $30 a piece. So I don't get it. I don't get it. I love Gal Geiger though. It's got one of the most addictive theme songs of any anime that ever came out too. Awaits name so can sub. Classic Krusty, are you saying you still haven't subbed to the new YouTube channel yet? Is that what you're saying? Hang on, son. I'll give you a link. Hang on. Let me get there. In the odd event that you still haven't subscribed to my new channel, my review channel, there it is. Oh, that's right. I got to give Four Horsemen a $1 bill. Hang on just a second. There you go, Four Horsemen. $1 bill, y'all. $1 bill. Those arcade machines seem risky for how much they cost. Anymore, you don't need arcade machines because the gaming technology is caught up in the home console space. Yeah, I have one. I have an arcade cabinet in my house just because it's a nostalgic thing for me to be able to stand in front of an arcade cabinet and play some of these games. It's a multicade that runs off a Raspberry Pi, running. It's not RetroArch. I'm not sure which one I'm running anymore, but I think it's one of the ones that runs on Pi. And it's built out of an old Captain America and the Avengers cabinet that was broken. And Captain Retro, he found it and gutted it and turned it into a Raspberry Pi multicade and made custom artwork for it for me and everything. It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. Any video game or streaming recommendations this week? Well, like I said, if you haven't tried out on Amazon Prime that new show Legend of Vox Machina, give it a go. It's pretty funny. The most recent Dragon Ball Z. Oh, and if you're a fan of the Kingsman series, the Kingsman prequel, The King's Man, just hit HBO Max like yesterday. And there's a really cool horror movie that was produced by Guillermo del Toro called Antlers that's on HBO Max. You should check that one out too. Seventh, do you like anything Pokemon related? Never got into Pokemon. I was already in my 20s when Pokemon came out. Shadowhood, don't try to make me say stupid stuff live. I don't fall for that shit, son. That's strike one. What do you take me for? 12? For God's sake. You know, we used to have some of the looter, more modern anime on Blu-ray, and somehow I ended up losing a bunch of it when I moved here. And I'm thinking that maybe when me and Sarah broke up, she didn't just take some of my games with her, she took some of my anime too. Because, for example, we had the box set, the complete box set of Sekirei. And that one's gone. This one wasn't necessarily a lewd show, but we had the complete series for Needless on Blu-ray. That one's gone. And now Needless is like $100 on Amazon. You can't buy it for cheap anymore. And it's not one that you can easily find on streaming either. And Needless was one of our favorite anime shows. We loved me and Eighth loved Needless. And now it's not on Crunchyroll. It's not on Funimation. Used to be on Netflix for a while. But we had it on Blu-ray, and then we moved here, and it's gone. So I don't know what happened to it. I'm kind of irritated about that one. Yeah, I have zero interest in Euphoria. Seventh, if Eighth ever met you when you were 18, do you think you two would have gotten along as well? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We would have been best friends. Because Eighth, personality-wise, reminds me of two people that were very important to me in my life. One of them was my cousin, who was the one that I told y'all about, who passed away by accidentally breaking his own neck. And the other was my best friend growing up, a guy named Brandon. And Eighth is like a little bit of me a little bit of my cousin and a little bit of Brandon mixed into one person. And so, yeah, we would have been best friends if we had grown up together in high school. Absolutely. I mean, shoot, we're best friends now. You know, I don't, he's grown. I don't really have to adult much with him aside from, bring your dirty dishes in from your bedroom, take your dog out to go to the bathroom, that kind of stuff. I don't really have to do that much else as a parent for him these days. He's aside from the fact that, he's not working right now and he's going to be starting school sometime, hopefully this year or next year. Mostly we just hang out, play games, and watch movies together. Needless is streaming on High Dive. I'm not even familiar with High Dive. When your first wife sold all your stuff at that garage sale, how come you didn't sue the eBay reseller? Because she consented to the sale. She was married to me, so she was legally allowed to sell anything that was in the house. Wasn't anything I could have done against the reseller. She sold it to him. Seventh, do you think Guillermo del Toro's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was good or bad? It was all right. I mean, it was a PG-13 horror film, which it's based on a young adult book, so that's to be expected. Personally, I think the Trick or Treat movie that came out several years prior to it is a better film and more fun, but it wasn't too bad. Guillermo del Toro, he's kind of hit or miss with me when it comes to horror. Some of his stuff, like Kronos or Pan's Labyrinth or whatnot, that's some really good stuff. But then you've got movies like what was that? Crimson Mountain or Crimson Hill or whatever, that the movie that had the guy the guy that plays Loki in it, Tom Hiddleston. That movie. It had some really cool visuals and really great art design, but it wasn't scary. It was more kind of boring. So he's kind of hit or miss with me with horror. But Antlers, he didn't direct. He just produced it. And it's a good little horror movie. How he break his neck. He had a medical condition that would cause him on certain occasions to randomly pass out. And he was walking down the hallway of his house, and one of those spells hit him, and he passed out, and he hit his head on the wall on his way down and broke his own neck. And it was actually the second time he had broken his own neck. It was just the first time it was broken in such a way that, it didn't sever his spinal cord or anything. So he was actually able to get up and kind of brace himself and walk to get help and call an ambulance. But the second time it happened, he was gone. Because it got him bad. It was a bad break. Would you and Alpha Omega Sin have been best friends in high school? I don't know we would have been best friends, but we would have been friends. Because we're into a lot of the same stuff. Is it true that history repeats itself? It does tend to have a history of repeating itself, yes. High Dive is sort of new, but if you're familiar with Sentai Filmworks, they put all of their stuff on there. How much is it per month, J-Chip? I haven't seen it on PlayStation or Xbox, so I'm assuming it's not available on those platforms yet. I moved to and lost some stuff. Yeah, it sucks. Wings of Redemption said he used to be able to bench press 180 pounds. How about you? As I recall, we had to do weightlifting in gym class when I was in high school. And the most I ever got up was, it was a little over 200. I can't remember how much over 200, but it was a little over 200. But I ended up hurting myself when I did it. And so I never tried lifting anything bigger than that ever again. After that, I kind of stayed in the 125 to 150 range. And plus on top of that, in 1995, I got in that car wreck and it did permanent damage to the muscles and nerves in my left arm. So, I lost a lot of my strength in my left arm after that. And, it is what it is. I've got damaged left arm, damaged knees. I'm kind of in rough shape. Crimson Peak. Yeah, that was the one. That movie, it's pretty to look at, but it's not scary and it's kind of slow. It's kind of boring. No J-Chip, I don't have a Roku, so I guess I'm not getting that service. I do not have a Roku. Oh well. I'm sure there's not anything on there that I couldn't buy on Blu-ray, so I'm good. Except for Needless. I need to rebuy Needless. But it's so damn expensive now. 7th, do you think the design of how biblically accurate angels look give off a creepy but strangely beautiful and comfortable feeling? Not especially. But at the same time, this whole thing about biblically accurate angels, a lot of imagery in the Bible is metaphorical. So, talking about wheels and multiple eyeballs and all this stuff, I don't know how, if that's meant to be taken in a literal sense, or if that's meant to be, for example, saying that, there's not anything that you can do that they don't know about because they see what you do and what have you. So it's like having eyes all over them. Yeah, I think a lot of that is metaphor more than, angels are these big multi-winged creatures that have wings in their feet and wings in their arms and wings on their back, and they're covered in eyeballs and all this. Yeah, I think people take a lot of the stuff in the Bible too literal and word for word. Good thing you have an office style job. Yeah, I haven't done manual labor in a long time. I haven't had to. I've been working in IT basically since 1996. Making a living sitting down ain't that great, Classic Krusty, because it can cause you all sorts of other health problems. It can mess up your gastrointestinal stuff. Sitting all day, it can mess with you in all sorts of ways. I'm living with some of it now. IBS, fatty liver disease, and a lot of it is caused by sitting all day. Are you a fan of Guillermo del Toro's action movies like Blade 2 and Hellboy? Oh yeah, they're fantastic. Do you have any thoughts on the Midwestern states? Yeah, I'd never want to live there. Like, I know a guy that lives up in the Dakotas and he hates it. He's like, there's nothing here. I would never live in South Dakota. I'd never do it. Wouldn't live in some of the mountain states either, like Utah. I'd never live in Utah. I had an opportunity to move to Utah not long after I moved to Texas. The company offered to make me a manager and move me to Utah, and I was like, nope, I'll stay an engineer, thanks. I'll stay an engineer in Texas. I don't want to live in Utah. Thoughts on birds mysteriously dying? That's a news story that's been going on since I was a kid. I can remember being a teenager and seeing a story on the news that, flock of birds mysteriously found dead on the highway. There's a lot of things that can cause birds in large numbers to die, whether it be polluted water that they got into, or acid rain that's gotten onto them, atmospheric changes that that messes with their internal navigational abilities. There's a lot of stuff that can cause that. I wouldn't read too much into it. It's been happening at least as long as I was a kid, because I can remember seeing the stories about it. I lived in Delaware and I loved it. Now I live in Florida and I'm miserable. Well, I spent 10 years in Florida and I loved it for the most part, but enjoying Florida kind of depends on the part of Florida that you live in. And plus, you have to remember that the Florida that you live in, I lived in Florida from 1998 till 2007. So I haven't lived in Florida for many, many years. What college is 8th gone into? I'm not going to get into that. What's wrong with Utah? It's Utah. Living in South Texas would suck in my opinion, but I can't stand blazing heat. South Texas is really the only part of Texas that has good beaches. That's really the only thing I can say about South Texas. Ever watch the YouTube channel Jason A? Yeah, I watched it a couple of times. It's some really stupid shit. Like Jason A was one of those channels that was spreading around that ominous noise thing. That everyone was claiming was the trumpets of the angels. And really what it was you had one neighborhood where this one little town out in the middle of nowhere where there was a big empty warehouse parking lot that was adjacent to the town on the other side of the railroad tracks, and they were using bulldozers to scrape up all the concrete of that parking lot because they were going to put something else in, and the noise that they were hearing were those bulldozers scraping against concrete. And people were taking that sound and then adding it in video editors to other footage to make it seem like this sound was being heard all over the world. And Jason A was one of the channels that ate that shit up. That channel's a joke. I don't watch that shit. Small towns, lots of dead space. Yeah, that's Utah for you. Plus, you've got the organized crime of the offshoots of the Latter-day Saints that still have their 20-something wives and control entire towns and stuff. No. I'll stay right here where I'm at. Nothing ever happens here. You have an occasional shooting in Texas, but in this particular part of Texas, nothing ever happens. Nothing. And plus, considering how things got for us last year with just like a couple of inches of snow on the ground, being up in that Utah region, no thank you. No thank you. I like warm weather. Warm weather. That's why I like living in Florida, when I could go out on my front porch on Christmas morning in boxer shorts and drink iced tea. Well, you shouldn't let Jason A spook you. He tries to turn everything into some kind of biblical prophecy stuff. And even when it's stuff that's debunked, he never takes his video down and edits it. He leaves it up there. And so people continue to believe that this is some weird supernatural crap happening when it's not. So, I would just suggest that you stop watching that channel. I've lived in the city. I didn't care for it. What's the best thing about Tennessee? You got very friendly people in Tennessee. You've still got nice, quiet neighborhoods in Tennessee, depending on where you go. Tennessee, in a lot of ways, is like Texas. It's just not as warm. And the job market isn't as good. There's not as much, at least in the town that I grew up in Chattanooga, there wasn't much of an IT market there. It's one of the reasons why I moved to Florida as soon as I could afford to do it. IT at the time was booming in Florida. I have no idea how it is now. But, and there's a lot of fun things to do in Tennessee, depending on what part of Tennessee you live in. I think the eastern part of the state is a lot better than the western part. I wouldn't want to live in Memphis. But, you know, Nashville, outside of Knoxville, you know, those would be good places to live. Chattanooga, it kind of depends. But then again, I haven't been back to Chattanooga in many, many years. So it could be that it has a much bigger IT presence than it used to. But when I was there, the only IT presence that Chattanooga had was help desk call centers. So, but I mean, if I could pick anywhere in Tennessee to live and money was not an option, I would live in and around Gatlinburg. I love Gatlinburg. Love it. Used to go there all the time when I was a kid. Oh, by the way. One hour remaining. We've had $10 in donations. We are $40 away from the 10 o'clock extension. So thank you. Thank you to Four Horsemen for donating the $10. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. What is... probably one of the... Yeah. Okay. Do you think Max Payne might return? Well, Max Payne 3 was an okay seller, but it wasn't a fantastic seller. And they diverted away from the first two games quite a bit, in not so much as in gameplay, but in style. So, I don't know. 7th, is there any kind of creature of darkness in the Bible that can absorb light? Like, let's say this one-eyed entity had a light flashed on its dark presence, but you still couldn't see it. I can't think of anything in the Bible like that. I mean, even Lucifer himself was referred to as a being of light and wisdom. But yeah, I can't think of any entity in the Bible that absorbed light. Do you think heaven might get boring after a while? No, because the idea of heaven just being, you know, walking around on clouds with a harp and wings is just something that was made up in, you know, newspaper comics and crap. Heaven is not really described in any great detail in the Bible, other than saying, in my Father's mansion there are many rooms, and I'm going to prepare a place for you, and Christ referring to it as paradise and what have you. But my image of heaven would be that it's a place where there's no death, there's no sadness, and you're no longer bound by the laws of nature or physics. So, you know, if you want to witness the sinking of the Titanic, you can witness it. If you want to travel to the other side of the galaxy, you can do it. Anything that you want to see you can see it. You know, not anything lewd, of course, because as a ascended enlightened being, that kind of thing won't interest you. But you know, witnessing the Battle of the 300, you know, if you wanted to see that, if you know anything in history that you were ever curious about, you'd be able to just watch it and be right there to see it, because you're no longer bound by the laws of time and space. You can go anywhere and see anything that you want to see. You can learn about anything you've ever wanted to learn. You have all of knowledge and all of existence right there at your fingertips. How would you ever be bored? I've been to Disney World, never been to Disneyland because I've never been to California. 7th, we can do that here in California, that fresh breeze. Who wins in a fight, Hulk or Bane? Hulk. Texas and Louisiana weather are similar, except Louisiana rarely gets snow, but when we do, it's like an event. Yeah. And of course, both Texas and Louisiana have hurricane problems, but I live far enough inland that it typically doesn't hit where I live that bad. We just get bad rain, but we don't get like the full force hurricane typically. Knock on wood. When's the next Game Con you want to attend? Well, I'd love to go to Retropalooza in May, but you know, I don't know that that's going to happen. I always wanted an office job, but I didn't want to go into debt paying for college tuition. Oh, I know about that. I got student loans now because I didn't really apply myself in high school, and so I didn't have a scholarship. All I had was Pell Grant and student loans. High Dive is available on PS4. Why is it not on PS5 yet? Will you supersede 8th playing God of War Ragnarok before you, or do you think you'll get the digital version so you can both play? I don't know yet. Depends on what the money situation is like when it comes out. I kind of wish I bought the Regala edition, but hopefully I'll get another chance. Okay. My concept of heaven is chilling in a recliner and games and edibles all day. Well, the thing of it is, heaven is like, you know, the ultimate high, so you wouldn't need edibles because you'd essentially be in an ascended, enlightened state all the time without needing edibles. You'd just be, you know, high and in awe of everything for eternity. What's not to love? Anyways, the reason I bring that up is because me and my friend saw something in the dark like that when we were kids and we weren't hallucinating. Well, you know, when you're a kid, your brain is still developing, and kids can tend to not be able to discern imagination from reality. So, for example, I didn't have the boogeyman when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I wasn't afraid of the boogeyman. My boogeyman was the big bad wolf, and it was the literal cartoon from the Three Little Pigs Disney cartoon. And so I would get up, I would wake up in the middle of the night and sit up in bed. We're talking like, you know, 4 or 5 years old. And the cartoon Big Bad Wolf would be standing in my bedroom. I'd see him right there. And of course he wasn't really there. He wasn't like a spirit taking on the form of the cartoon Big Bad Wolf. It was, you know, misfires and chemical things going on with my childhood developing brain. And that's probably what you and your friend saw too. Because what one kid sees can influence what the other kid thinks they see. So if he saw some weird dark thing in the corner and said, "Look at that weird dark thing in the corner," kid with equally still in developing brain would look and see whatever the first kid saw. Yeah, classic Krusty, the things that I've seen, I was an adult. and those were like, dead mental hospital patients walking around in the woods. I wasn't on, I hadn't taken anything. I hadn't drank anything. I was dead sober, and, they were glowing blue like the ghosts at the end of the Haunted Mansion, and they were walking in and out of the trees. I'll never forget it. A single yellow eye. Well, you got to remember that most animals, a lot of animals have nocturnal vision. Dogs, cats, rats. So, you could have seen like a one-eyed dog looking at you through a bush. One-eyed cat, one-eyed rat. Or it was a rat looking this way and you were standing over here, so you only saw the one eye and the light just happened to hit it right, so it had a glowing sense to it. Haven't you ever seen videos of dogs' eyes at night? Or cats' eyes at night? I think it's stupid, wannabe gamer. I think it's stupid that Sony charges $55 for 2 pieces of colored plastic to put on your PS5. I do too. That's why I didn't buy any. I did decent in high school when it came to doing tests. I just hated doing homework. Same here. Always did good on my tests, but my homework was always poor, my homework average, because I didn't do any of it. And so I was always scraping by with B's and C's. Except for English. I always got A's in English. How come you didn't get the Regala edition? I honestly feel like that's one, if not the best collector's edition Sony has ever done. I don't know. I just didn't buy it. 7th, something I forgot to mention. We shined a lantern on it and we still couldn't see this yellow-eyed thing. Weird stuff. Yeah. Now I know what you were talking about, Classic Krusty. Yeah, the collector's edition of Forbidden West is a statue of this woolly mammoth robot elephant thing, and then you get this tiny little Aloy this big. And, if I was going to want a statue, I would want a statue of Aloy, not a statue of an elephant, and then a tiny little Aloy this big. Like the first statue was for the original collector's edition for Zero Dawn. I wish I'd bought that one, but I didn't, and now it's super expensive. Meanwhile, the collector's edition for this new one was still in stock everywhere. It's $229, and I think it's for the same reason that I didn't buy it, because people wanted a statue of Aloy, not an itty-bitty Aloy and a big elephant. All I'm telling you, Ultra Steel, is we think we see a lot of things when we're kids that don't end up being what we thought we saw. I wouldn't put a whole lot of put a whole lot of weight into something that you thought you saw when you were a kid. I'm just saying. I trust what I saw in that graveyard that night because I was an adult in my 30s. No, not my 30s, my late 20s. My late 20s. I was in my late 20s. I was a married man, working professionally, and I saw this shit. And I was with other people who also saw it. Last 40 minutes, folks. 40 minutes left, $40 short. Fun, fun, fun in the sun. Yup. Yup. We'll keep the questions coming, folks. We got 40 minutes left to fill up with content. Let's go. H2O. H2O. Look, I show there's 34 of you in here. Surely somebody has a question. Otherwise, we can end this thing 40 minutes early. Let's go. Let's go! I'm curious now, since nobody's asking questions anyway. I'm going to go see. Let's see. Let's see. Needless Season 1 on Blu-ray. The cheapest price I see is on... It's not on Amazon. It's on a website called Sentai. I'm not familiar with them. And they're wanting $55.99. Now, I don't know if their stuff is original releases or if these are ones where they print them when you order them. But that's the cheapest I see is $55 for Needless. And it's not got the same artwork on the box as the Needless one that I had. The Needless one I had, I bought it off of Amazon, and it was only like $30. But now, if you try to search it, the one that I did have, it's not even on there anymore. But something called Needless Collection 2 is for $23. The thing of it is, Needless Collection 1 had all of it. It had the entire... Because it only had one season. So I don't know... And the one that I had, the Needless Complete Collection, is now listed as for $129.99. So I don't know what this Needless Collection 2 is. And they rarely give you enough information on these to be able to tell what's on it. You know, they don't say, oh, this is episodes so-and-so through so-and-so. I'm thinking maybe they originally released it in 2 volumes, and then they released another one that had it all in one set, and that's the one that I bought. But when I bought it, it was only like $20 or $30, and now it's the one that I bought is now $130, which kind of sucks. Whatever. From 8th, Horizon 2 story is starting to lose me. Uh-oh. What's the last game you bought in retro gaming? Infernax for PS4. It's a 8-bit kind of love letter to Castlevania games. It's really good. But as far as an actual retro game, I haven't bought one in a while because I haven't been going to cons. And if you try to buy off of eBay or whatever, you're going to be paying a lot more than it's worth. I miss those pickup videos and game sniffing. I never really made that many of those, Classic Krusty. The Regala edition also didn't have a physical disc. Yeah, we typically don't buy a collector's edition that doesn't come with the actual game physically. Classic Krusty, whether you can sniff out deals in stores, that all depends on the guy that runs the store. Really. You know, when I lived in North Carolina and I went to Gamers Alley all the time, I was always getting good deals in there because I built up a good relationship with the owner. And there was a store like that when we moved here to Texas, but then Sears went out of business, and they were directly next to Sears in the mall. So when Sears went out of business, they weren't getting any of their walking by traffic anymore, and all the business dried up because no one wanted to walk to the dead end of the mall to go in there. And the mall was going to charge them double rent to move somewhere else in the mall, so the guy just closed up his business. But, you know, I established a good relationship with him when I moved here, and he was always giving me good deals. I rarely paid whatever price he had actually on the items that I bought there. You know, he would allow me to haggle with him. That really irritates me about Needless, though. Because I bought that for 8th for Christmas one year. And then we get down here to Texas, and it's not in all of our stuff. And several of my anime collections that I'd bought on Blu-ray were not there. And to this day, I don't know if the movers lost them somehow, or if my ex packed them with her stuff when she moved out. I don't know, but it's really irritating. And Needless is the one that irritates me the most as far as the newer stuff, and I really want that back, but I don't want to pay $129 for it. $55 is a little bit better, but I'm not familiar with this Sentai site, so I don't know how trustworthy they are. It's irritating. Oh, man. What are your most favorite PlayStation 1 games? Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 9, Alundra, Legend of Dragoon, mostly RPGs. The Breath of Fire games, Wild Arms games. That's mostly what I played on PS1 was RPGs. I was really big into RPGs at the time, JRPGs especially. I got hooked on them on the Genesis because of the Phantasy Star series. And the Phantasy Star series led me to Lunar on the Sega CD and Vi on the Sega CD. And that, of course, you know, led me to the Saturn. And the Saturn had, you know, Magic Knight, Ray Earth, Albert Odyssey, and all these other ones. And then when Saturn died, I bought a PS1, and I just started buying every JRPG that came out. At one point, I had every JRPG ever released in the States at one point. And up until 2004, when my wife sold all of it. You know, I had all the Persona games that was released on PS1. I had all Parasite Eve 1 and 2. I had all of them. Even some of the kind of cheaper, lower budget stuff like Phantom Brave and Cardia and stuff like that. I had all of them. Just this massive pile of PlayStation JRPGs. And now I only own a fraction of them. I gotta get the 3 MacGuffins for the Super MacGuffin, and there's a boring side story for each one. It just took me nearly 3 hours to get one item to push the story forward. Been scrolling through my phone for a lot of this game so far. So 8th is liking the gameplay, but not the story. It's about what he felt for Halo Infinite. Seventh, I want to make my animated stories have dark content in there for adults, but PG for everyone. Problem is my art style looks cutesy. Think I could cut out profanity, otherwise I'd feel it'd be edgy. I don't know, man. I can't really give you advice there. You got to be true to your own vision. And animation is not something that I've delved into. $30 left, everybody. 30 minutes left. $40 short of the 10 o'clock extension. Kink in my neck. Kink in my neck. I'm sure 8th is trying to power his way through the game as fast as he can because he wants to be free for when Elden Ring gets here. It's a crime that you only get 30 viewers, in my opinion, if I can respectfully say that. Yeah, well, it's got its pluses and minuses. Yeah, it'd be nice to have more viewership, but at the same time, I wouldn't be able to be as interactive if a bunch more people were watching because the chat would be scrolling up too fast for me to read all of it. Whereas with the size of the audience I have now, I'm able to answer most of the questions. So, and give you a little bit of a higher level of interactivity than you would get from like a bigger streamer. And plus, a lot of the people that watch the 7thCast don't watch it live. They watch the replay. So, it is what it is. I ain't got a whole lot to complain about. I do wish the new channel was growing a little bit faster than it is, but that's YouTube these days. That's just YouTube these days. Is what it is. As it stands, it's going to be a while before I'll be able to monetize that channel because you have to have at least 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of content before they'll let you sign it up for monetization. And so far, I'm looking at a little bit under 250 subs, and I think I've just hit 400 watched hours of content, so I'm only at 1/10 of what I need to earn in a year to be able to get monetization. So we'll know in another year from now whether this ends up being a failed experiment or not. Seventh, have you ever gotten a new game and the disc edges got a couple of bumps or chips? No, I've been fortunate. I've never run into that. Been supporting the Crumb side for years. I didn't have internet till 2012, so I never got to see the Attitude Era with MLD and El Presador. It was more fun then than it is now. It's kind of the Wild West. Anyone could make a response video to anybody without having to worry about YouTube breathing down your throat or, getting canceled or anything like that. As long as you, didn't delve into their personal life, like, try to affect their job or mess with their family or any of that kind of stuff, it was no holds barred. And because you were allowed to link each other's response videos, even though that you were debating or arguing back and forth with each other, you were also promoting each other. And so both channels would grow from the interaction. You don't have that anymore. No, I've never returned a game because it was loose in the case, unless it was like the disc prongs on the case were actually broken. Then I might return it if I didn't have a box I could swap it out with. 7th, are you good with mechanical tools, wrenches, hammers, and stuff? I'm fairly decent with them. You know, I know how to use all of them, but I'm more on the technology side of things. Well, no, the Attitude Era, as we knew it, will never come back. Uh, the woke crowd would never allow it. I had the internet as early as 1993. I had America Online. Jimmy B Gaming can help you with the subs on your new channel, lol. I don't really have a relationship with Jimmy B Gaming. I mean, he and I used to talk a little bit back and forth, but not anymore. In fact, you know, the only guy on the Weapon Wheel podcast that interacts with me on a regular basis anymore is Black Bond. And Black Bond's channel isn't really, aside from sub count, isn't really doing that much better than either of mine. So, I mean, he doesn't get the views he used to either. No, I wouldn't make a good handyman because I don't like that kind of work. I wouldn't want to be like a plumber or anything like that. It's not for me. It's not for me. You know, I don't have like a real affinity for what I do at my current job, but I can have fun with it because I'm sitting at home, you know, listening to music and chatting with my friends at work about games and shows we've watched and this and that. So, you know, the fact that the actual work I do is kind of tedious and boring to me doesn't have that bad of an effect because of the fact that, you know, I'm friends with my coworkers and we chat on and off all day. So it's not that big a deal. Do you think God of War will come out this year? It's possible. I wouldn't expect it till like, you know, midsummer to fall if it's going to come out at all. You know, somewhere in the June to, say, late September range. If you don't see it by late September, it's probably not going to be till March of 2023. Oh, man. Coming into the home stretch. We're down to the last 22 minutes and we're $40 short. It ain't going to happen again this week, folks. How long until the PS5 is easy to buy? That all depends on the chips. That all depends on when the chip shortage ends. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the whole game of the year thing. I don't really pay that much attention to it. I don't really put a whole lot of weight behind it, if any at all. Question slowing down again. Slowing down again. Does Eighth Dog know any tricks? Yeah, she knows how to stick her tongue all the way up your nostril. That's her trick. Every time she hops on my chest to give me a doggo kiss, it's like I'm being tested for the coof. She just shoves it right up in there. Right up into the back of my nose every time. She can play fetch. That's about as close as she gets to doing tricks. But if you start playing fetch with her, she will not stop. She will expect you to keep playing until she decides you're done. You throw it once, you're going to be throwing it for like 30 minutes until she decides she's had enough. When will you go back to the theater? I don't know. I don't know. That depends on a lot of things. I'd love to see the Batman in the theater. You know, I'd like to see the Flash in the theater, see Michael Keaton as Batman again on the big screen, but that all depends, man. It depends on how things go. Because as of right now, you know, I've had 2 coworkers pass away just in the last month. Just this month, February. 2. So I'm not in the rush to go out in public and expose myself to any of that because of all the health problems I already have. It makes me a prime candidate for the coof to, send directly to the morgue. Do not pass go. Her mother looked, our dog's mother, or Eighth's dog's mother, looked like a cross between a Chihuahua and a miniature greyhound. The father, I don't know, he was some kind of weird, Pomeranian mixed with Dachshund and miniature collie, weird looking dog. I have no idea what he was. I don't know if they were or not, Krusty. I talked briefly about the Capcom announcement. There was rumors going around some of the gaming news sites today that it's going to be for Street Fighter 6, but I don't know if that's true or not. Wah, wah, wah. They keep making Batman over and over again. There are many other DC stories WB could tell. True. I'm still pissed that they're not letting Henry Cavill continue with his version of Superman. I'm really irritated that we're not getting at least a Man of Steel 2. I would have liked for him to have gotten 3 films. And sure, he was in Man of Steel, he was in Batman vs. Superman, and he was in Justice League. But he wasn't in most of Justice League. So I would at least like to get a Man of Steel too. It's irritating. And I'm perfectly happy with getting an Aquaman 2 because I liked Aquaman. And I'm curious to see how Black Adam turns out because I liked the Shazam movie. But, the rumor is that they're going to use the Flash movie to reboot the entire DCEU by having everything that happened in the Snyderverse become like an alternate universe thing, and the story's going to continue in a different universe with a different Batman, and instead of Superman, we're only going to have Supergirl and all this other crap. That's the rumor. It's going to be Mega Man 12. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, it would make sense for it to be the next Street Fighter because Street Fighter 5 was what, 2016? So it's like, 8 years, 7 years old? 6 years old, 6 or 7 years old? 6 years old. 6 years old. So it's about time for another one. 15-minute warning, folks. 15 minutes, and we're $40 short of the 10 o'clock extension. Thoughts on Tom Holland taking a break from acting, so Spider-Man 4 will probably be 3 or 4 years. I don't care. Yeah, I was happy with the way No Way Home ended. If we don't see him for a while, no skin off my butt. I like the original Mega Man games better than the X games. I never really got into the X series. My one lingering question about the original Mega Man series is why for Mega Man 8 they gave Dr. Light Elmer Fudd's voice. Speech impediment and all. He sounds like Elmer Fudd, and I've never understood that. I was saying something about it to 8th just the other day. I don't get it. How cool would it be if they brought back Mega Man Legends, but they did it as more of a kind of an open world style game like they've done with this new Kirby game coming out? That'd be pretty cool, I think. But then again, not every game needs to be open world. Ultra Steel, if you don't have any pain after you're done doing a workout, then you haven't pushed yourself to your limit. That's just the way it is. Because you have to stretch those muscles out, and I mean, yeah, sure, you should do a stretching routine before you start, but you should still have some soreness there because the buildup of muscle is basically like repairing damage. So there should always be a little bit of soreness or whatnot involved in it after you're done. I mean, there's also such a thing as overdoing it, but, And the audience has stayed pretty consistent tonight. We've, for the most part, stayed, right in that 29 to 35 range. It's not too bad, not too shabby. I guess there was a lot of people that wanted to see my thoughts on retro anime collecting. I don't know. Maybe I should just start naming all the weekly 7thCasts like live nude girls or something. I would never do that. I'm kidding. The more you work out, Ultra Steel, the faster you'll recover from each workout as your body acclimates to it. However, that's also a sign that maybe you need to increase the weight. because eventually, if you just keep working out in the same weight range, you're going to hit a plateau. So, you either have to increase the number of reps or increase the amount of weight, or both, if you want to keep that same soreness going on. What percentage would you give Sony of still having a disk drive on the PS5 Slim? At this point, with the way things are going, 50-50. Could go either way. Did you miss my question at 9:46? I don't know. Did I? Do you remember both the Crapcom era and the Cap God era? I don't really know what you mean by that. The only bad era of Capcom I remember was during the PS3 generation, where they licensed a bunch of their crap out to Western third-party developers. Well, you could also Ultra Steel use the same weights, but just use them in different ways so they're hitting different muscle groups. You can look up online various different exercises you can use with the same set of weights without adding additional weight onto it. Because you got your, working your bicep, working the back of the arms, working the shoulders, working the neck muscles. There's a lot of different things that you can use weights for. So, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to rush out and buy more weight, although eventually that is something that you'll have to do if you want to keep building mass. Nine minutes, folks. 9 minutes left. The arthritis is kicking in, boys. It's irritating. Very irritating. But not as irritating as not having my needless Blu-ray. Well, technically 8's needless Blu-ray. But you get what I'm saying. That annoys me. Very upsetting. Very upsetting. Wah, 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 wah. I still haven't given up on the idea of getting a Polymega. I still haven't given up on that idea either. Thing of it is, even if I had the money to buy one, if I ordered it now, I wouldn't get it until the second half of this year because of how behind they are on their manufacturing. No, I've not watched the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I have not watched it. Not as of yet, anyway. What's the next game you're playing? I don't know. Probably going to look for what the next DBTS is going to be. Trust me, I know all about exercise, Ultra Steel. I'm just not in a condition physically where I can do a lot of it anymore. Because of problems with my knees and my back, and my left arm is ruined, and various other things. I can do limited stuff, but not enough to where it can burn off the weight that I've accumulated at this point. You know, a lot of this weight I could probably burn off by just doing a lot of walking, but my back and my knees prevent me from being able to do enough of the walking to make a difference. So I'm kind of stuck. We have a new 3DS XL. We bought one at the last Retropalooza we went to. I bought 8th, the Legends of Zelda 3DS XL. We just don't have a whole lot of 3DS games. Well, falling down the stairs at the movie theater didn't help my left knee, let's put it that way. And my knees were already kind of messed up from the car wreck in 95, so it is what it is. It is what it is. Would I like to be back down to even just 200 pounds? Sure. You know, my ideal spot is like 180, but if I could just get down to 200, I'd love that. I'd feel so much better than I do right now. Because physically, I'm pretty miserable most of the time, except for when I'm asleep. When I'm asleep, I'm fine. It's when I'm awake that's the problem. You know, I feel like crap all the time. I hurt all over. And then when you add into that, you know, gastrointestinal problems and chronic migraines and light sensitivity and all these other things that I have, kind of sucks being me, guys. I ain't gonna lie. But there ain't nothing I can do about it, so I just grin and bear it. I got shit to do. I got shit I want to do, so I just ignore it and move on. Is there a way to see the movie that you were in? Not yet. Not yet. I mean, you can go and pre-order their movie. You know, you can go and pre-order it, but and they are in talks to putting it on a streaming service, but no confirmation of that happening or when it would happen. So right now, the only way that you could see it is to pre-order it so that you would get a copy of it, but it's not going to be available for download for another several weeks, and the Blu-ray isn't going to come out till sometime in the summer. Yeah, I don't buy into the whole self-driving cars thing either. I'm starting to struggle with the aging process now that I'm out of my 20s. All that matters is how you feel in here. But, you know, it's kind of hard to maintain a youthful attitude when your body's constantly breaking down on you a little more every day. But, you know, I just don't focus on that kind of thing. I focus on the now. The only thing I focus on future-wise is financial stuff. Otherwise, I live for the day. I've been to multiple doctors, multiple specialists. You know, they've run all sorts of kind of tests on me. I'm just kind of done with it. We have the Zelda games for 3DS. I know we have Spirit Tracks and Link Between Worlds, and we have some other stuff. We don't have a massive 3DS collection. It's one of our smaller handheld collections. Two minutes left, folks. 2 minutes left. Not going to happen again this week. I think we're going to end up going a whole year without extending the stream. I honestly believe that. It's just not going to happen. that kind of stuff, Ultra Steel, once you get to my age, doesn't seem as valuable as you would think. Maybe change the reward. I don't have anything else to reward. Just more of me. That's the only thing I have to offer is more of me. Anyway, it's 9 o'clock. We didn't hit the goal, so this is where we got to stop for the evening. And, just be thinking about what you want to talk about. If you got any show ideas about what to make the main topic or whatever, send them to me on Twitter or post them in the comments of the replay later, and I'll give them a look-see. Until then, I will see you guys. Well, real quick, Classic Krusty, when I stream a game, instead of just showing myself on camera asking questions, not as many people show up. It seems like this audience doesn't really like watching me do gameplay during the 7thCast. They want me to do that as a separate stream, and then when I do that, only 12 or 13 people show up. But anyway, I'll be here, God willing, with nothing interrupting it, next Saturday, so be thinking about what you want to ask me. Same